Hi, my name is Vertigo, and together we are moving and manifesting. Welcome to my channel. Today I'll be discussing toxic friends and how to identify the not so obvious. I'm also going to talk about recognizing or inviting a soul friend into your life. Now, I am not a licensed therapist or counselor. I'm just sharing knowledge that I gained through my own research, as well as some of my personal experience thrown in there. So, big disclaimer, if you're feeling depressed, you should definitely seek professional counseling or therapy. Okay, this is more of a conversational forum, and we're just sharing knowledge here. Before I actually get into it, I just want to ask if you find this video interesting or you've heard something in it that resonated, just go ahead and hit the like button. And I invite you to subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting videos, I don't know how often, but I want it to be real, I want it to be genuine. So I'm not going to commit to a timeline like every week or every day. It'll just be whenever. So just subscribe, and whenever a video pops up, hopefully it strikes your interest. We will move and manifest together. I'm also going to drop some tips, and I'll recommend a few products at the end of this video. And let me just preface this by saying that relationships are a two-way street. You've got to be a good friend too. It takes two. Maybe you're the culprit. So let's just watch this video and let's see, do you actually fit some of the criteria, or do you have a friend that fits some of this criteria, and what kind of work can your friend do on themselves, or do you have to make a decision whether to distance yourself from that friend or not, or do you have to make a decision to change yourself and become a better friend yourself? So we all know the obvious bad friends, right? The gossip, the backstabber, the friend who never has time for you, the user who is a taker, just wants things from you and never really reciprocates. But I'm going to identify a few other types of friends that kind of fly below the radar at times, but they still get into our spiritual zone, and they can still sort of affect us in a negative way. Like I said, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and of course, as you know, it's all connected to the body, to the physical, so it's going to take a toll on you physically as well. So let's take a look at these less than obvious bad friends whose effect on you is almost parasitic. So first off, we have the Minefield Friend. The Minefield Friend is the type of friend who, it's kind of like walking through a minefield where any step you take, you're not sure if a bomb is going to go off, right? So you can say something well-intentioned, well-meaning to this person. It could be a compliment, it could be like a check-in. Like, for example, hey, I know it's late, I just wanted to wish you a happy anniversary. Facebook didn't remind me, so I almost forgot. And then he or she may respond as follows. Oh, well, I don't rely on Facebook to tell me about important dates. I just remember them, right? So instead of taking it as a compliment, maybe the first person made the Facebook comment as like a joke about how busy we all are, right? Like, oh, these days Facebook didn't remind me, so, and this person, it's really like, like walking on unstable ground. They just make you feel like, how do you have a conversation with this person? Because any little thing they're prickly about, and you want to be good friends with this person. You're trying your best, but the person is just naturally aggressive, naturally combative. But this person is not a direct enemy, because this person doesn't seek you out and start things with you, but it's just that whenever you initiate communication with this person, he or she just doesn't know how to communicate with people for whatever reason, right? It could be something stemming from their childhood or their current family surrounding. But, beware of this person, because you may have become friends with him or her through mutual friendship. It might be what I'll talk about a little bit later, a friendship of convenience, right? Where it's a neighbor or a coworker, Or maybe, like I said, a mutual friend of a friendship circle where you're not really close to this person, but you just kind of figure, oh, we're all friends and she was closer to me, so I'll just kind of hang out with her. So sometimes it's forced, right? Because why would you be friends with a person who you have such a combative back and forth relationship with? This is a pattern. This is a karmic pattern, and you have to be able to realize, you have to be honest with yourself when you're dealing with the minefield friend. Is it worth it? At the end of the day, this is the litmus test, right? So, you know, the lady Marie Kondo, who has the television show, and she's a huge expert on, you know, making your space more positive, and she especially deals with domestic spaces, right? She recommends that you pick up an article of clothing, right? And you ask yourself, does this bring me joy? And if the shirt or pants or whatever it is doesn't immediately bring you joy, you know, without overthinking it, then no, honey, you need to give it away or throw it away if it's in bad condition. So the same principle applies. If you are honestly putting in your best, you're giving this person a lot of love, a lot of tolerance, a lot of forgiveness, and this person continues to step on your, to just sort of attack you with these prickly, you know, with these needles, right? Then maybe it's time that you hang it up, that you just give up this relationship, right? It's very tough with the minefield friend, because normally I would recommend having a conversation with that friend and trying to work it out, you know, therapeutically between the two of you. But that might not work with the minefield friend, because this is a person who does not know how to communicate. Let's move on to the second type. Okay, and the next type of toxic friend that often gets by under the radar is the critic. The critic is worse than a backseat driver. The critic is the type of friend who will make comments to your face, right? So this person is not talking about you behind your back. So it's kind of easy for the critic or for your other friends to argue, oh, well, at least he or she's not talking about you behind your back. Or they might try to justify it by saying, oh, at least he or she is upfront and frank, and that's something to be admired these days. And you know, that's all good. There is something to that, to speaking your mind, but at the same time, you know your instinct. You know what's right. You know what feels good to you and what feels bad. You know what feels good to other people and what feels bad. This person should know right off the bat that it does not make a person feel good to criticize him or her for every little thing, and to do so, especially, and to do so publicly. So it doesn't matter if it's to the person's face. It doesn't qualify it. It doesn't excuse it. The critic might say something, I'm just giving you some examples, might say like, oh, you know, you have a little crack in your tooth. You should really get it fixed. Okay, fine. Maybe that's not a big deal. Maybe you do have a crack in your tooth, right? That needs to be fixed. Then 5 minutes later, he or she will come out with, oh boy, you really have a pouch there. Maybe you should give up the running and start some sit-ups. It just seems like every couple of minutes this person is criticizing you. And you know what? The critic is not necessarily a pessimist. The critic is oftentimes a very confident and optimistic person who simply enjoys exercising power. Yeah. This person may have made you into their project, because guess what? It might just be within, let's say if you have a mutual group of friends, it might just be that only you're the person that the critic picks on. Why is that? Why is that? You could be making yourself an easy target because maybe you don't know how to answer this person. Now, I don't like to suggest that a person goes against their style, but how do you answer a critic? It depends on what you feel most comfortable with. You might be a very direct person and you might say something like, hey, lay off the criticisms already. Or if that feels awkward to you, if that feels too like weird, then you could answer with something snarky, because the critic often cannot take his or her own medicine. Like if you were to say, if you would have a direct conversation with this person and say, you know, it really makes me feel like I have low self-esteem. You really give me low self-esteem when you criticize me every minute. And I just feel like I want to accept your advice, your pointers, but I think it's excessive, and you end up making me feel bad. Can you pull back on the criticisms, or can you try to say it a different way, or maybe not say it at all, because none of us are perfect. Okay, so the thing with the critic is that he or she might not respond to that, so you may have to get a little bit snarky. This person, like I said, their MO is to exercise control, to exercise power. So when you take the upper hand and you do that to them, then they realize how easy it is to lose that power, and they don't like the feeling. And if they have a heart, they may actually pull back or stop altogether. And once again, if the critic does not stop, you need to love you more than you love your friend. You need to love yourself first before you can give yourself to a friendship. So keep that in mind. This may be a relationship that you will have to dump. Okay, you decide for yourself. We'll weigh the options. Is it worth it with this person? If this person is making you feel horrible every single time that you meet him or her, is it worth it just because this person? And you know, sometimes we feel indebted to friends. Maybe you were going through a rough time, and this person, the critic or the minefield, was there for you. Right? It was kind of a one-time thing. You have to weigh the options. Is this person there for me so much to the point that I can turn a blind eye and endure their everyday hurts, their everyday insults, and belligerence? You know, you have to make that decision. Okay, and the third type of toxic friend that we're going to talk about is what I like to call the happy mask, right? Happy mask pugilist. This is the type of person who offers you a lot of their time and energy, and yes, he or she may be there for you often, but the thing is that this person has a problem within himself or herself. Okay, it could be an insecurity issue, it could be something stemming from how he or she was treated in a past relationship, or within their family, right, by their mom or whoever, right? There are a variety of reasons as to why a person may lash out, I'm sorry, on a friend. So the pugilist part comes in because this person, whenever he or she is down and out, surprise, surprise, this sweetest person in the world who comes to your house, shows up with flowers for no reason, once in a blue moon, all of a sudden is punching at you when you know within your heart that you didn't deserve it. Okay? It could be something like, let's say this person was supposed to meet you somewhere, okay? And you got there first, but you didn't realize that parking was going to get really bad after you got there. This person was late in getting there, and then he or she started driving around looking for parking, and then an hour passed and you called and said, hey, I didn't see you, is everything okay? And then she might say something like, oh, now you call. Meanwhile, you just thought she was being late and you didn't want to nag her. You thought that maybe calling her would be the wrong thing to do, right? And then he or she may say something like, oh, I've been driving around for an hour, and you know what? This really sucks, and I'm out of here, and you get to make all the decisions in this friendship. I don't know why you chose this place. And it's like, whoa, you choose the places where we meet up sometimes, and I choose the places, and it's been pretty much equal. You don't know where this person is coming from, because this person cannot see things objectively right now. He or she is just feeling like a victim because of something else that happened to him or her that is unrelated to you, right? And he or she is projecting it onto you. Maybe it does have something to do with you a little bit, because oftentimes the happy mask pugilist is very nice to you because they admire you, right? So there could be a little bit of jealousy there as well. You know, there's a thin line between admiration and, you know, like jealousy, right? So it could be that you've got something good going on in your life, and maybe this person doesn't have that, but they've been trying to fight the jealousy and root for you and be your cheerleader. But you know, sometimes you just can't fight the feeling. And when this person is down and out, unfortunately, this person is weak. The happy mask pugilist is a weak person. He or she is going to come out punching, and who's there? Who's there? You're there. So you become what? You become the punching bag to the happy mask pugilist. And why? Where does the happy mask come in? Because this person is pretending to be happy, and sometimes it works. You could have long periods of a blissful relationship with this person. Several months can go by to a year, to a couple of years. But then this person may cut off their relationship with you by projecting, right? By attacking you for things that are imagined or things that are blown out of proportion, right? Like, you're always late, but maybe this person is even later to see you, right? So with the happy mask pugilist, you have to be careful that you are being a good friend too, because you don't want to mistake a person who really is giving a lot more to you in terms of time and energy and, you know, affection and support. And, you know, if you're being selfish and you're not giving back, you're just taking all of this, and, you know, maybe it's not your style to show up to your friend's house with food to surprise him or her. Maybe it's your friend's style to do that, and you appreciate it. I'm not saying not to be yourself if that's not your style, but, you know, definitely if someone's giving something to you, it's a transaction. You know, everything in this world is kind of a transaction. I'm sorry, it is. So, you know, you have to give back. You have to find ways to give your friends something back, even if it's not in the same manner that they give to you. And you have to make sure that they know that this is your way of reciprocating. This is your way of showing your love. Hopefully, if this person is your friend, he or she will already know that. If not, you need to make it clear. And sometimes there are hitches in the road between friends where it calls for moments where you have to clarify the relationship. You know, sometimes arguments are not all that bad because they do help you to better understand the relationship at hand, right? So let's just keep that in mind. Now we come to our fourth type of relationship. I was kind of hesitating to include this one because I wouldn't say that it's a toxic relationship 100%, but the energy of this relationship can certainly bring you down. So this is the friendship of convenience. A friendship of convenience sounds like something good in the beginning, right? Like, hey, this person lives next door to me, or you know, this person is the mother of my child's friend in junior high school, and we pick up our kids at the same time, and we just happen to be there, and we strike up conversations, and, you know, I try hard, she tries hard, but, you know, we forge this friendship, and we don't want to throw it away, right? It's kind of a friendship of convenience. A neighbor who you feel like, oh, it's the right thing to do, I should be friends with my neighbor, so you bring them over food, or you try to force conversation along the way. It could also be, you know, a mutual friend of another friend. Sometimes in friendship groups, we feel sort of this peer pressure to accept or to like friends of their friends, especially if you all hang out together, right? You want it to be a good time, you want things to be civil, so you're going to try your best to like this person. We also have, you know, childhood friends that we carry along. You know, there's something in our culture where we kind of frown upon people who let go of friends, right? It's kind of vilified, right? And we kind of compliment people who are able, like, oh, you have a friend since elementary school, that's great. Even if we don't know what type of friendship that is, we're like, oh, that's wonderful. You must, that shows something about you, or that shows something about her. You must be strong friends. Not necessarily so. I've had a couple of really toxic childhood friends who I hung on to for years and years because of that same concept. oh, we go way back. Oh, we knew each other for so many. One of them would even tell me, you're going to throw away a 20-year friendship because I made you crash your car and didn't offer to pay for it or didn't contact you afterwards. You're going to throw away a 20-year friendship? Yes, because not just was it that incident, but there were some other incidents that were equally selfish and horrific, right? Now, this is not to say that a friendship of convenience, meaning, you know, a neighbor or your child's best friend's mom, or, you know, your coworker, this is not to say that it cannot be a genuine friendship. You know, sometimes it's just fated and you were just meant to meet this person. You're meant to move next door to this person, and this person can turn out to be your best friend. You can have a real soul connection. Some people are just that lucky, but for others, we often don't find that, and you'll often force it. And with forcing it, you know, like I said, friendships of convenience are not necessarily toxic. I should hope that you would have the intuition and the self-love to not go deeper into a friendship that seems toxic from the start. But friendships of convenience, I'll explain why in a sense they can be toxic. If you're spending your time, right, time is very valuable. If you're spending your time with a person who you're forcing yourself to hang out with, you know, just like in a romantic relationship, you're robbing yourself. You're robbing yourself of precious time that you could be using to be productive or to feed your soul or to feed someone else's soul who you have a deeper connection with, right? Also, your time with this person can be humdrum. And that humdrumness, I just made up a word, that humdrumness can actually drag you down because it can create a lazy energy or a negative energy. I once met a lady my age at a theater workshop. I have a theater background, and this person, I'm not really sure why she asked me for my number. I was just flattered. I was like, oh, cool, you know, I made a new friend. I was actually hoping before I went to the classes that I would meet a new friend, just because I think it's cool to make new friends, right? So I took her number, and she said, you know, we have a lot in common. We live in the same area. I think that was all that we had in common, though, to be honest. So we met up a couple of times for Thai food. We both like Thai food again. That was a superficial commonality. But the conversation was forced, and she had a wall up. I did most of the talking. I made most of the jokes. She didn't seem to laugh much. She didn't seem to have any jokes of her own. She did not tell me much about herself. It was mostly me bearing my soul to her. And it just felt like the chemistry wasn't there naturally, and I was giving so much of myself. And sooner or later, it just kind of dropped off. We stopped asking each other out to eat. It just wasn't going anywhere, and a lot of time would pass before we would do so. It just felt like a chore, like, oh, I want to keep this friend around, so let me invite her out again. But I think more so on my part, I felt like the friendship wasn't doing anything for me, and that's okay. It's okay to be a little selfish when it comes to going out and seeking what you want in a friendship. It's not okay to take more from a friend than what you're giving that person, right? Because it has to be reciprocal. It has to be equal, even if it's in a different form. But yeah, so that was my experience with trying to force a friendship. It was a friendship of convenience. We lived in the same neighborhood, and I think at the end of the day it was wasted time. It was just, you know, it was a humdrum energy, and it made me go home wondering, is there something wrong with me? You know, was there something wrong with my conversation? Is there a reason why she's not jumping at hanging out with me more often? Is there a reason why she's not laughing at my jokes? Don't even make yourself feel like that, because if you're both forcing it, then you both just need to let go. Okay? When it comes to that childhood friend, like I said earlier, I've had childhood friends who I hung on to because, you know, there's a belief in society, a false belief that you should go through life with your childhood friends and that it is something commendable. It is something commendable if they're a good friend, but if they are toxic friends, then definitely you are doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing that person a disservice as well, because it's toxic even for the person who's toxic, right? If they don't have a punching bag to punch on, then they don't have anyone to punch on, and then they're not being toxic. You know what I'm saying? So it just ends up hurting you both. You have to know what you want, right? And I'm kind of moving on to the next topic a little bit. It's kind of bleeding into each other, because what I want us all to do is to sit down and daydream, fantasize, imagine, think about, just as you would think about your ideal job or your ideal house or your ideal romantic soulmate. I want you to imagine your ideal soul friend. Okay? How many times do we ever do that, right? And you need some reference points